Good morning. Welcome to Unity Orlando. Our opening statement this morning is, God is inside me and guides my way through every moment of every day. Let's all affirm that together. God is inside me and guides my way through every moment of every day. All right, let's all close our eyes and take a nice deep breath in. Let's affirm that together in the silence. And so it is. And now please stand and help us sing our joy song this morning. It's a chant called Sacred Space. Standing in a sacred space, one full of safety and grace, one feeling like my home place, and it's here, 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 and it's here. I am living in a sacred space, one full of safety and grace, one feeling like God's own place, and it's here, 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 and it's here. I'm standing in a sacred space, one full of safety and grace, one feeling like my own place, and it's here, 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 and it's here. I'm living in a sacred space, one full of safety and grace, one feeling like God's own place, and it's here, 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 and it's here. All right, thank you very much.
Good morning, Unity Orlando. How's everybody today? I wrote down top of the morning because it's almost, St. Patty's Day, but thank you for getting up. Thanks for setting your alarm to the right time. I woke up at 3 a.m., which really was 2 a.m., and I sat there going, what time is it really? I do that every year.
I want to miss church.
I know. No, I didn't want to miss church. That's right. Anyway, welcome online as well. I'm Susan Francis, your platform speaker. Do we have any visitors? No. I recognize everybody, I think. I'm glad you're all here. A couple announcements. Prayer chaplains are available to pray with you after service. Today in the house is myself and Paul right now. See one of us for prayer after service. Also remember, we pray every evening at 8 p.m. If you would like prayer. The March affirmation is, I am an eternal being of light. Yes, we are, for sure. That's all I got. Let's see. Is that right? The roof's been done. Gutters are going up this coming week, so we're moving along. Reverend Bob's lesson today is getting beyond growing pains. But before I turn it over to Brian, I have a little story to tell you. There was a man and a woman who were married for many years, and whenever there was a confrontation, yelling could be heard deep into the night. The old man would shout, when I die, I will dig my way up and out of the grave and come back and haunt you for the rest of your life. Neighbors feared him. The old man liked the fact that he was feared. Then one evening, he died when he was 98 years old. After the burial, the wife's neighbors were concerned for her safety and asked, aren't you afraid that he might be able to dig his way out of the grave and haunt you for the rest of your life? The wife said, let him dig. I had him buried upside down. And I know he won't ask for directions. That's a good one, right? Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. Anyway, I turned it over to Brian.
You didn't dig too deep for that one, did you? Okay, good. Oh. Well, here's a song. It's sort of a letter to God, and it's called "Only God Knows." Remember the time where I might have stepped on a line and I thought I heard you. I kind of fell off track and it was hard to get back in good graces with you. It might not all be rosy or a fairy tale, but I live my life where you're the wind in my sail. One time I thought I went crazy 'cause I couldn't find you anywhere. You said you'd always be with me and I thought you left me and you gave me a scare. And that was only a moment in the grand scheme of time, where my faith was tested and we drew a line. That's the way life goes, that's the way life shows. When our love is tested and our heart light grows. What direction the winds of change grows. My resurrection, only God knows. I hear it in the wind blowing through the trees, like heaven whispers a gentle breeze. You are always with me, you can never leave me. Can you really help me? Only God knows. That's the way life goes, that's the way life shows. When our love is tested and our heart light grows. What direction the winds of change blows. My resurrection, only God knows. What direction the winds of change blows. My recollection, only God knows.
Hey, as always, you've done a wonderful job of getting this going. Wow. You create all the good energy, then I come up and see what I can do with it. Can I destroy it? Anyway, how are you today? Boy, you look bright and shiny and bushy-tailed for someone who sprung forward. You at home, I hope you got there in time. To join us, thanks for being with us. And you who came in person, the brave, the few, those who actually got out and drove here. You know, when I was coming in, I was looking, and I don't know what there was about it, but there was such a freshness, such a newness to the way the sun was rising. You know, I remembered that song, It's a Red Rubber Ball or something. It really was a deep orange today when it was coming up. It was such a riot. The whole sky turned that color, and I thought, wow, I'm actually enjoying being awake early in the morning. What did he say? It'll go away. Spoken like a true pessimist. But it probably fits in with today's lesson. Today, we're going to kind of look at the dark side of life a little bit, or at least the difficulties of life a little bit. We're going to talk about getting beyond growing pains. And I'm going to do a little bit of walking you through hell for a heavenly cause. Okay? But this is all stuff every single one of us has to deal with. Entitled it Growing Pains, because I think it's a great analogy for what it is we go through spiritually. When someone's growing up and they say, oh, my leg hurts, you're this or that or the other, sometimes there's not a legitimate reason for it. There's not an injury. And we point out that it's just because the body is growing and expanding. And sometimes that creates phantom pains. It gets a little uncomfortable, maybe even hurts a little. So, children, as they're growing and expanding, experience growing pains sometimes. And so do spiritual beings. On a spiritual level, it's not just a change in the body. The whole world around us seems to be changing. And then there's the realization that our sense of self is changing and expanding. And just like with body growing pains, we seem to hurt a little as we expand. But we need to understand our spiritual growing pains are all about resistance to the change. Now, resistance manifests as sadness, anger, resentment, fear, and even righteous indignation. All of those things say, I am resisting the change. And why do we resist change? For some reason, as human beings, we believe that stability brings us comfort. And I get that. I get that very strongly. But I also know that stability is an illusion. There's nothing stable in this world. Life is always changing. I used to say, the only thing that doesn't change is change itself. It keeps happening. Everything else, no matter how secure you believe it is, can change. And eventually does. Life is always changing, and so are we. We're always changing. And you can't stop change. You can't say, let's hold it right here. I like this. I'm happy. Leave me alone. Life won't leave you alone. Things are going to happen. So, the world is always changing, and you can't go backwards. That just plain doesn't work. We got a lot of people trying to say, oh, let's go back to the way we were. There was a whole movie called that, right? Nobody can do that. It was intriguing when I was in my early 30s, and I was married, and she had 3 kids, and I was thinking, we want to raise our kids in the type of environment that we were raised in. And I thought, so we were in Miami at the time, and I thought, let's just get out of the big city. Let's go to one of the more conservative sections of the country, and I'm sure the life that we knew is still there. I tried out in churches all over the country. I tried out in South Dakota. And I'm sorry. The way we were was no longer anywhere. The world had changed. We're always changing. And I guess we better get comfortable with it. We're always getting a new sense of self. People say, that's just me, that's just the way I am, and that's the dumbest statement I've ever heard. Because the way you are is changing. It always has. When you were growing up, you changed. You were like this, like that. If you look back 5 years, you realize that's not the same person. You're getting older. And that does seem to change our lives. And even if you're still in your prime, you may be faced up against entering a whole new cycle of life that's very different from what I just finished. A cycle that requires us to change our hopes and our dreams and expand our comfort zone. We call all of this spiritual growth, expanding beyond what we have known. And when we resist change, whether it's the change that the world thrusts on us or the change that our personal life thrusts on us, when we resist change, it hurts. It manifests as sadness. Mourning the loss of what we've had. Anger that we have to do things differently. Resentment that we've been forced into this. Or fear that everything's going to fall apart. Well, it may, but we don't need to fear it. That's why I've said for a long time, it's no coincidence that I've grown. The statement I've grown, the word grown can be spelled 2 different ways. G-R-O-W-N and G-R-O-A-N, because sometimes during spiritual growth, we do a lot of groaning. We don't have to, but it just depends on how attached you were to where you were. Now, this talk came up because I think we all need it. My perception is that we presently live in a time of extreme change. Even the earth itself is going through changes that are affecting us. The earth, the world around us seems to be changing more rapidly than any other time I've seen in my very close to 75 years in this planet. I mean, look around. It can be scary. The way we were isn't anymore. And when I say it's not my game anymore, I'm just here to coach, I'm beginning to wonder whether I should add that final phrase. whether anybody really cares about my coaching anymore. But it definitely isn't my game anymore. There are others in their prime taking over and taking the lead. So look around you. And yes, it's a little frightening. The world order seems to be drastically altering. People that for the last 75 years have been our friends, now we're at odds with. People that have been our enemy for the last 75 years, somehow we're aligning with. I don't know. I don't get it. But the world is changing. The economy is threatening to fail. Remember, I promised to take you into hell for a heavenly cause. I'll get to the heavenly cause here in a minute. It's threatening to fail. Living expenses are slated to double. Eggs, which in our day and age seem to be the measure of the economy, I always saw them as a cheap stability thing. You could always get eggs inexpensively and therefore get plenty of good nutrition. Well, they're skyrocketing. Hundreds of thousands of people in the last month, their jobs disappeared. Hundreds of thousands of people. You think that's not going to affect us? It is. Even Social Security and the IRS are threatening to fail, if you believe what comes out on the news feed. Now, I'm an optimist. I believe that death and taxes will always be with us. Actually, I am an optimist, and I believe we're going to get through this. We're going to get through these times. We're going to get through all this change. But I will tell you right now, there's fear in the air. And we probably need to address it. Now, that's just the world around us. More importantly, we as individuals are changing and having to expand our personal lives. That hits a lot closer to home. Many of us are getting older. Our bodies are demanding that we change. Our hopes and dreams, we're having to rethink them and even redefine what our hopes and dreams are. And then at any age, in your prime, while you're young, while you're old, there are those among us that are facing one of those periods of drastic transition from one cycle to another. Ever had that? When you pretty much said, well, that period of my life is done, and I started something whole brand new. I've had it a number of times. Or even more threatening, that we're going through a transition from one sense of self, who I am, to another sense of self. Unfortunately, all of this is natural. Ultimately, our sense of self is constantly changing. And unfortunately, that disturbs us. We really resist change. Now, I want to talk about these big transitions. We hit them at different times in our lives. I know some people in the congregation who are going through them right now. It's a time in our life when our sense of self, who I am, literally dies. There are times when we change a little, and then there are times when it changes so drastically that I believe that who I was died. But it always means that I am becoming something new. The important thing to understand about change no matter how threatening it may be, is that it's all part of metamorphosis. I think we've got something on the refrigerator that says, just when the caterpillar thought the world was over, it emerged as a butterfly. That's what these drastic changes are all about. I remember the first time I encountered a total personal self-meltdown. I was driving out of a valley in Colorado. I was in my early 30s. I'd been there for 8 months with my family, and basically it was the most difficult, painful period I had ever experienced in my life. There was a time I came home from trying to do some substitute teaching to bring a little bit of money into the household. And I discovered that I was just lucky to still have a wife. She'd held a gun to her head for a half hour. We were not having a good time. And when we tried to leave, it's as if the valley wouldn't let us go. It took everything we had to come back to paradise, right, Florida? But it was home. But my memory is of driving down that dirt road when I went back to get all the furniture out and met the moving van, and I'm driving down that dirt road, and I realized that I have died. Who I was is dead. That life over the last 8 months had totally defeated me. And as I'm driving down that road, I'm just mourning the loss, knowing that I've basically totally failed. But as I was mourning the loss of who I was, I had this inkling in the back of my mind, the back of my heart, this feeling that something new was being born. And I sensed this new thing was a whole lot stronger than who I had been. And it was. I remember for almost a year, I would look at people. We went back home and saw people we knew before we went out there. And I was utterly amazed that they thought I was the same person. I knew inside how drastically different I was. And I couldn't understand why everybody still thought I was the Bob that left. I used to say it was the most painful, at that time, up to that point, it was the most painful time in my life. And I say I would never choose to go through it again. And then the caveat. But having done so, I would never give it up because of what it gave me. It catapulted me decades ahead in spiritual growth. And I thought, well, you do this once in your life. Well, that was naive. I've gone through a number of these transitions. And each time, my world expanded and I became more. So I don't care how dreary it looks. The change is meant to help you expand and become more So what I'm going to suggest is that you look at your pain, your sadness, your anger, and your fear simply as symptoms of going through a transition to a new self, going through metamorphosis, turning from a caterpillar into a butterfly. However, to get to higher ground, we must quit looking back and only look forward. Even that movie, The Way We Were, it was a long time ago. But if I remember, the theme in the end was there's no going back. Genesis 19, 17, 24, and 26. The angel said to Lot, "Now escape for your life and do not look back nor stop anywhere." Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire. But Lot's wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. That's pretty drastic. But what it's saying is when you're faced with a radical transition in you or even in your world, looking back and yearning for how it was can destroy you. Philippians 3:13, Paul says, "Forgetting those things which are behind, I strive for those things which are before me." Those are your instructions. Forget those things which are behind and strive for what lies before you. In Romans 12:2, he says, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." Allow yourself to go through metamorphosis and become something more. That's the spiritual gift that life has for you. Transition to a new cycle always disturbs us. It's always difficult. It's the ultimate loss of stability, though, as I've pointed out, stability is an illusion. We still cling to it. When transition is over, we find we've expanded spiritually. We are more. We are stronger. And that's the gift that accepting change can bring to you. I love that statement from the movie The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, where he said, "In the end, it'll be good. If it's not good, it's not the end." If it's not good, it's not the end. So I look out right now and say, it's not the end. Transition to a new cycle or a new self is frightening. And this is true whether it's for a whole society, you can look at the world around you, or just you in your individual life. So what I want to do today is to talk about how to get beyond growing pains and handle this period of transition as positively as possible. The sooner we make peace with change, the sooner we arrive at higher ground. So I've got 9 suggestions, gimmicks and gadgets for getting through. Well, sometimes they're not so fun, but they are to the point. I'm going to use my classic statement, if there is a choice, choose. And if there's not a choice, embrace the change before you. Don't just sit around and stew, because things are no longer the way they were. Quit looking back with regret. And quite frankly, quit looking forward with fear. Remember Paul's instructions. Forgetting those things which are behind, I strive for those things which are before me. Just stay on track. The one I did not include in the notes, but I had originally, was survival is success. And it really is. In these periods of transition, survival is success. All you have to do is go through it, and you will grow. All you got to do is go into that cocoon, and you will turn into the butterfly. So survive it. Keep looking forward. Quit resisting and embrace the new thing that God is creating in your life, even if it's drastically different from what you've been enjoying. Number 2, no matter how bad it gets, know with faith that God is in charge. If it's not good yet, it's not the end. God's in charge. So each day I'm suggesting, remind yourself, no matter what happens, I will get through this. Remember I said that earlier. I said, I'm an optimist who believes in death and taxes. I said, actually, I'm an optimist who believes we will get through this. And every day you need to tell yourself that. No matter how bad it gets, God is in charge. That may take faith, but you need to use that faith to know that. Number 3, remember life is a kaleidoscope. Everything is constantly changing. Nothing in this physical world is stable. It's an illusion to believe it is. It's always changing. Oh my God, then I have no anchor. And I would say, actually, you do. The only thing that is truly stable in your world is your relationship with God. God always loves you. That's never going to change. And if you want an anchor, that's it. And if you know that, you can handle whatever the world throws at you. Life is a kaleidoscope. Enjoy your present because it's fleeting. One day you'll look back and say, why didn't I enjoy that? I remember the day I was flying back from Unity Village to Miami. I'd been the assistant minister there for, 6 years probably. And I realized, I'm ready to take a church. I'm probably leaving here. And I thought, wait a second. There's a whole bunch of things in Miami I haven't done. And I'll leave and I'll look back and say, why did you never go here and why did you never go there? So I went home and I set about doing everything I could that I could remember that I think of that I hadn't done because I knew I was leaving and I was out of there very shortly. Life is like that in general. There's something beautiful in the moment right now. Don't bypass it because you're worried about the future. Enjoy your now because It's a kaleidoscope. You know how you turn it and suddenly that beautiful design changes. You're never going to see that design again. But you got a new beautiful design in front of you. And that's what life is all about. It's about embracing the beauty of where I am until it changes. And then letting go of that one picture and embracing a whole new beautiful picture and saying, this is where I am now. And this is great. And then you're going to hit that thing again. And the picture's going to keep changing. So enjoy one beautiful picture. You let go of one beautiful picture in order to embrace the next. It's like breathing. You can't take in a new breath until you release the old one. Number 4. When in transition, and now I describe that, after being kicked out of a reality that you enjoyed, life does that to you every once in a while. Put on blinders. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean those things the horses that drew the milk carts used to have. In order to not have them get distracted, they had these blinders so they could only look forward. That was the image I came up with during my first divorce. It's getting to be a sad world when your minister has to say my first divorce. But it was a lot of years ago. A very lot of years ago. And I'm looking and I'm realizing that I am looking back with regret. I'm looking back and I'm going, what if I'd said this? What if I'd done that? What if could I have created something different? Well, maybe you could have, but you didn't. So it doesn't matter. And suddenly I realized if I was going to get out of this pain at all, I had to look forward. I had to pull Paul's instructions. You look forward. I decided I had this image of blinders. I cannot look backward or side to side. I simply can, every time that happens, I'm going to pull it back forward again. But this is where I'm going with my life. I'm not going to regret no longer having where I've been. So, I suggest that to you. Keep your attention on where you're going, not where you've been. You can apply that to the world or you can apply that to your life. Either way. Number 5. If you're going through transition, if you're going through changes, declare, I am a new person. It isn't just the world that's changing around you. You are a new person. And if you're a new person, you need to really discover who you are now. If you're going through metamorphosis and your caterpillar is changing and turning into a butterfly, you're going to need to figure out what this butterfly does and what it likes. And so I suggest a practice that I simply call starting over, because we often try to drag our old life into our new self. And it's time to just clear the slate. You say, I don't like sweet potatoes. Are you sure? If this is a new self, if this is a new life, give them a try. Maybe you still don't like them, but maybe you do. And that goes for everything else in your life. If you're starting over, keep asking yourself, is this me now? I realize it was me back then. But is this still me? And as you go through everything in your life and ask that question and try to discover who you are, explore that new self, explore your new life with the excitement of discovery. Let's figure it out. What's this butterfly like? Let's take it out for a drive, see what it can do. Who am I? What am I? Because I am not who I was. Number 6. Build back better. I realize that sounds like politics, and it's not. Those words were together long ago. And they describe exactly what we want to do with our life. You're going to have to build it back, and you're going to build it back better. Be prepared to embrace a whole new approach to your life. New goals, new hopes, new dreams. Which means you're going to have to be prepared to release all your old dreams. We're real attached to them. We've carried them for years. Clearing my property. A couple of years ago, I sold, well, it's getting to be a little more than a couple, but I sold my 3 acres of property that I lived on. And I used to say, you gather as much stuff as you have room. So I had to clear it to sell it. And I had at least 1,000, if not thousands, of really wonderful projects that I suddenly realized I was never going to do. Those were my hopes and dreams. Those were my goals. Those were my projects. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I had to learn to try to figure out what I really was going to do now in this cycle of my life. So, release all your old dreams. Discover what brings you joy in the new life and establish new dreams. And rise to a level where you can see that the threatening new, and new is always for some reason threatening. The threatening new, though it may be uncomfortable because it's so different, actually presents an entirely different form of blessing. There's blessings I've never claimed in this life or wasn't even comfortable in going after. And the new can open the door to that. Can you rise to the point where you can see that being a butterfly is actually a good thing? That the new life might have blessings I never was able to experience in the old life. Remember how I said each time I went through a major transition, I came out stronger? And because I was stronger, I realized that enabled me to experience life at a depth that I hadn't been strong enough to experience it at before. It opened doors. The fact that I now was stronger. So, rise to a level where you can see that as threatening as the new may be, it can be opening doors for you. Number 7. I told you we're going through hell. I told you it's also for a heavenly cause. So here we are, confront your fears. Be willing to embrace the unthinkable. As long as it's unthinkable, you are avidly drawing it to yourself because you fear it. That which I have feared has come upon me, right? Isn't that Shakespeare or something? I don't know who said it, but it's true. Remember the Bible story of Abraham? God tells him to sacrifice Isaac. To this day, I believe he got it wrong. But it's a story that deeply disturbs me. But there is a message in it. He was willing to sacrifice Isaac. Therefore, he didn't have to. In my life, that's worked out pretty well. Most of the time, if I'm willing, I don't have to. It's only if I say, no, I can't possibly do that, that I am drawing it irresistibly to me. Don't let fear rule your life. The way I do this is explore worst case scenario. You went, what? This does not sound unity to me at all. Okay, you got to hear the rest of it. Explore worst case scenario until you realize you could handle it if that happens. I was telling somebody the other day, I said, people ask me, will you do this? Can we do this? And I'll go through and I will tell you every pitfall, every problem in the road. I will tell you. And by the time they hear me going through all the drawbacks, they think it's a dead deal. And I look at it for a moment and I say, okay, that's what's being jeopardized, but I think I can handle it. Let's go for it. And they're always surprised. What do you mean, let's go for it? You just told me there's all kinds of problems. Well, there's bound to be problems. I just had to know I could handle them. That's what works for me. So where are we? So once you've looked at worst case scenario and realize you can handle it, here's the other half. Then embrace going forward, expecting not to have to face worst case scenario. I told you I'm an optimist. I always think I can slip by and not face worst case scenario. I just have to know that if it was forced on me, I could handle it. Once I know that, I can probably slip by without any problem. I am not suggesting you head for a worst case scenario. I'm suggesting make peace with thy enemy quickly. If you've made peace with worst case scenario, it holds no power over you. And you can go ahead and skip it. Number 8. Work on releasing sadness, anger, and fear, and fill that hole with joy. That's one of the other ways to get through this. Those things always come up whenever we go through deep change. And sometimes we go, anger's bad, resentment's bad, fear's bad, sadness, we'll give it a pass. Sadness is insidious. It'll destroy you every bit as much as anger or resentment. So we need to eradicate sadness too. All of them are resistance, and we need to turn away from resistance and find some joy wherever you are. I am resisting being where I am. Then quit it. And try to find some joy wherever you are. And in fact, try to find joy in being on a new adventure. If the world is no longer stable, you're on a new adventure. Take some joy in that. And number 9. Now we get back to the words spiritual growth in a big way. Follow your soul. Your soul growth is the most important thing you can do here. Really doesn't matter whether you've succeeded in your physical life or not. Have you embraced the experiences that your soul needs to expand? So often, we want our soul to follow the leading of our personal self. That's like asking a superhero to stand behind Joe Blow right here, who doesn't have any powers at all. No. Follow your soul. How do you follow your soul? Well, be willing to accept the path the universe puts you on, even if it's something you would rather avoid. Remember, if you've got a choice, choose. If not, embrace. That's basically what we're talking about here. If you're allowed to choose to walk around something, you're allowed to. And sometimes there's no choice. Be willing to accept the path the universe puts you on. Or, as an old reality collapses around you, revel in the strength you are building. I am stronger now. I will never have to go down this road again because I am now stronger. Keep a higher perspective on your life here on the earth. Personal success is not as important as soul awakening. When it's time to leave this wonderful, safe life that you've worked so hard to create and move on to something new, remember you came here for your soul, not for your personal self to be comfortable. You came here for your soul. Matthew 16:25-26, Jesus said, whoever wishes to save his life, that outer physical life as we have known it. Whoever wishes to save his life shall lose it. And whoever loses his life for my sake, for soul awakening, shall find it. But how would a man be benefited if he should gain the whole world but lose his own soul? At the end of a life where you have been extremely successful, but unwilling to expand beyond yourself, how have you benefited? Okay, you'd like me to finish this, and I'm going to. We all face transition. It's just part of life. And when our world falls apart, that's transition. When our world falls apart and we must release everything we have enjoyed. I had several times like that in my life. But transition is always followed by a new reality where we become a higher version of ourselves. Unless, of course, we become so lost in the pain, anger, sadness, and fear that we hold the new at bay. You can't do it forever, but you can hold your good away from you. Quite a while, actually. So when faced with a transition in your reality, which is a really nice way of saying when faced with a world that's gone crazy on you, a self changing so much you're not sure what you need and want out of life anymore. Well, and please remember, transition itself implies there's no choice. Remember, if you can choose, choose. If not, there's no choice. Go forward toward something new. Embrace it, holding the faith that God is still in charge. Open your mind to renewal. That is to go forward and discover that what new and sometimes very different blessings now lie before you. Let's close our eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath and sigh it out. There is one presence and one power in my life, God the good, omnipotent. Remember I said there's only one anchor that you can depend on. Everything else can change. But here it is, there is one presence and one power in the world and in my life. God, the good, omnipotent. Feel yourself immersed in that loving presence. Know that God is in charge. Even as things seem to go crazy, God is in charge. And out of seeming evil can arise great good. If it's not good, it's not the end. It's still moving. So look at the changes in your life and in the world around you and declare, God is in charge of my life and my world. God is in charge. So go into your heart, and in the far corners of your heart, release any sense of pain, frustration, fear, sadness over the loss of what has been. Just let it go and turn forward. Fill that space with the joy of the moment, because this moment is actually glorious. Life is a kaleidoscope, ever changing. So embrace the wonderful design that is before you in this moment. And know with absolute faith, I will get through whatever challenges I face right now. I'll get through them. So release the past. And look forward toward the light. Let our prayer be, give me the strength. Lord, give me the strength to let go of the lesser, no matter how much I like it, in order to step up to the greater. Let the light of God shine through you into your life and into the whole world around you. Be the light of the world in this moment. Be the light of your life. For the light of God shines through me. And look forward into your life. Feeling gratitude for the new that is coming to you and to everyone. In the end, it will be good. If it's not good, it's just plain not the end. Feel gratitude for the new that is coming into your life. Thank you, God. Amen. And if the usher will come forward, we'll prepare for our offering. For you at home, if you're new, I need to let you know how you can participate and be an important part of this church, because your support is so important to us. From home. At the end of service, you can go to the homepage of our website at unityorlando.org and hit the Donate Now button, where you can use a credit card or PayPal. You can pull off our address and mail us a check. Some people are having checks written by the people who have their IRAs and just having it directly coming in. Or you can use Zelle if you're part of the new millennium. UnityOrlando@gmail.com. You got to use our email address. If you use our phone number, it stays in weird places out there in cyberspace. So UnityOrlando@gmail.com. Or you can always call the office and have her talk you through it. Whether you're out there at home or right here, thank you for your offerings. Let's bless them. Here we go. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. Thank you, God. Amen.
It never ceases to amaze me that how poignant the songs are to Reverend Bob's talk. I don't know if you did that or I did that, but I wrote this song when I was in a transition, and it's called Here and Now.
It's the beginning, a new life to explore, when the old life doesn't serve us anymore. It's a new one, a new path to walk, when the old one doesn't lead us to your door. Here's the beauty of it all. Love and kindness, we heed the call. Radical forgiveness, random acts of kindness, flowing through us right here and now. Seem like the whole world is crying when the stoplight on the street lights turn red, when the city seems restless and no one gets their way. Just remember that they're always in the flow. Here's the beauty of it all. Love and kindness, we hear the call. Radical forgiveness and random acts of kindness, flowing through us right here and now. from random acts of kindness flowing through us right here and now, right here and now, right here and now, right here and now.
You're right. That's the perfect ending to our service. Thank you so much. Okay, and thank you all for being here on this Spring Forward Sunday. I think you get extra credit for that. I'm not sure who you can use the credit with, but you get extra credit. So whether you're here in person or watching at home, thank you for being with us. Thank you for being Unity Orlando. Next Sunday, I will be speaking on spiritual courage. And you went, oh, another hard one. No. We're going to go off in the ethers. Spiritual courage. Let's all rise and radiate into the world our prayer for protection. Together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. God bless you all.